Hello friends, and welcome back to Maple Bay Potager. My name is Faye, and today I wanted to give you a little update on the seedlings that we've started and give the onions a little bit of a trim and pinch back my Snapdragons, and I'm going to show you how I do all of that. So first we're going to look at the pepper seedlings. I planted about 80 here, I think, close to 80. And I didn't have very good germination on some varieties, so we're gonna go over this. On this side here, these are all a hybrid variety called Jalapeno M. I grew them for the first time last year and they did really well. I got those seeds from West Coast Seeds. These big guys with the dark leaves here, you can see that they're quite a bit taller. They grow really fast and they have these beautiful purple stems. These are a variety called Buena Mulata, which I'm so sorry for that pronunciation. These are a really cool pepper that we'll talk about in a minute. I don't want to just be holding this shaky camera. I'll flip this around after we're done going over the varieties and we'll talk a little bit about each one. I think that's how we'll do it. So next up, there's these three in this row here. These two got kind of stuck in the seed and I don't think we're gonna get any peppers off of those ones, but this little one here, I accidentally knocked a leaf off, but it is putting out some new growth here. So here's hoping that will produce some peppers. That is a variety called Collage. Next we have banana peppers and it looks like there's this one here and then a little guy behind it. And then it's a different variety over there. So that's another banana pepper there. And so on the other side here, the first three rows are a variety of sweet pepper called Marconi Red. Didn't have great germination on those. In the next three rows, so all the rest of them except this last row, these are a sweet bell pepper called King of the North. Had a bit better germination on those. And then on the end here, this is a variety called, I'm probably not gonna say this right, but I think it's Zhao Pai. It's also called Sharpei pepper. It's a wrinkly, but I only had a couple of those germinate and a couple of the ones that did germinate are stuck in the seed there. I don't know if you can see that, but I did start some more of those as well. Okay, so first up is a variety called Jalapeno M. This is a hybrid jalapeno variety, which I don't have anything against hybrids other than I do like to do a lot of seed saving myself. And hybrids are something that would be very difficult for me as a home gardener to successfully save seeds from. So that is something I would have to purchase seed for if that's what I want to grow. So I don't grow a whole lot of hybrids. I did choose these jalapenos for production. Hybrids can be more productive and a little bit earlier and more vigorous in their growth. So I chose those for hot peppers because where I live, it's pretty cold. Our season is quite short. It's usually around 100 days in between frosts of growing season. So it's pretty fast. And a lot of hot pepper varieties and sweet pepper varieties, I guess more sweet pepper varieties, just don't thrive. Like we just don't have a long enough season with enough heat for them. So I want to get as many peppers as I can. We really love peppers. We really love hot peppers, especially. We love jalapenos in like everything. So as many of those as I can get is ideal. I also have a small space. So for me, something like the jalapenos makes sense to grow a hybrid to get that extra production and a little bit of an earlier harvest. And this variety, Jalapeno M, did really well for me last year. And I got those seeds from West Coast Seeds. The next variety that we looked at is the Buena Mulata. And the Buena Mulata, I got those seeds in a seed swap a number of years ago, I believe. Yeah, from my friend Katie. They're a really neat variety. They're a cayenne pepper, but they start out this really, really bright purple, and they go through a few different colors before they actually ripen. So they go from like, I think it's purple to orange to like this weird tan kind of flesh color, and then to red. So when they're fully ripe, they're red, but you can have all of the different colors on the plant at one time, and they have like kind of dark stems. They're just really a beautiful plant. They're very productive. The cayenne peppers are a good size, and I find that they do really well for me. They're the cayenne pepper that I like to grow because they're the prettiest one, and they're, I think, more productive than any other cayenne I've ever grown as well. Next up was the collage pepper. The collage peppers are a really cool pepper too. They are a variegated plant, so all of the foliage is variegated. They are so beautiful, and they produce a purple sweet pepper that is also striped. So they're a really cool plant as well. I did only get the one of those, so I'm hoping that that one plant does well, and maybe I can take a couple of cuttings and root them from it and get more than that one plant. But even if I only get that one plant to grow, I'm hoping to be able to get some seeds off of it. I got the collage pepper in a seed swap with a friend of mine, Bree, and I think she said the seeds initially came from Fruition Seeds. So I'm not sure if you can get those anymore or not, but they're a really cool plant. And so next up is banana pepper. I'm growing the sweet variety. There is also a hot variety. When I bought the seeds, I thought that I got the hot variety, and the first year I was really confused because none of them were hot. It's because I got the sweet variety and just didn't read the package because I didn't know at that point in time. I don't think that there was a sweet and a hot. So if you don't know that, there's a sweet banana pepper and a hot banana pepper. And if you're looking for a specific one, make sure you read the package better than I did. So the next ones we talked about are the Marconi Red. And the Marconi Red I'm growing because I'm looking for a replacement for a variety that I buy at my local greenhouse. They sell eggs and fresh veggies as like groceries. So the variety I'm trying to replace is called Red Ramiro. I had saved some seeds out of a pepper that I got at the greenhouse, and I can't find the seeds now. So I bought this variety last spring, and I got the seeds from Wild Rose Seeds. They're a company that's local to me, but I'm not sure if they grow and produce their own seeds or if they are sourced elsewhere. I grew this pepper last year and they didn't do very well for me. I think it's because I planted them behind, like in the shade of a variety that was a bit taller than them, because I didn't realize that they were going to be shorter. So I'm hoping that this year, if I plant them in a different spot where they get a bit more sun, that they'll be a bit more productive. But they were a very similar pepper to the Red Ramiro, which I also grew last year. And it was a lot more productive than the Red Marconi. So hopefully the Red Marconi do a little better this year. I'm going to give them another try because they were more what I was looking for. And so the Red Ramiro and the Marconi Red are a sweet pepper, but they're a bullhorn shaped pepper. So they're long and kind of skinnier and tapered. They're, I believe, a seasoning pepper. So probably similar to a paprika pepper. I've never grown paprika peppers before, so I'm not sure exactly how they compare, but they have so much flavor. They're so good. They're so good in everything. I love to grow them for my salsas, put them in chilies. They're good as just like a fried pepper, a roasted pepper. They go good in like a spaghetti sauce or a bolognese. They are just probably my favorite sweet pepper. They have so much flavor. And the Red Ramiro, if you can find seeds for them, they are a very productive pepper in my experience, even in my short growing season. I have had better luck with growing sweet peppers that are kind of more that bullhorn shape versus the bell pepper shape. But the next peppers that we're going to talk about are the only bell pepper that I grow, and that is the King of the North. So they are a variety. I got them from Wild Rose Seed Company as well. They're a variety that has been developed for northern climates, and so I've grown them for the last couple of years now, I think 2 years, maybe 3, and they have been very, very productive for me. I get nice large peppers, lots of peppers on the plants, and I grow my peppers just out in the open in my zone 3-4 garden. I don't usually provide them much cover outside of in the spring and fall. If it's a bit cold, I will cover them with a tent. But generally I just grow my peppers out in the open. So they do really well, those King of the North. The last variety is the Sharpei pepper. So those are a wrinkly, as you can guess from the name, if you've ever seen a Sharpei dog, they're very wrinkly. The peppers are kind of like cool and gnarled and wrinkly. They ripen from green to red, and they are a seasoning pepper. They're really, really good. They have a really nice flavor, and I love to, I actually dry those ones. Just leave them out and dry them whole, and then keep them in a jar. And anytime I'm making something that I want a little bit of that kind of flavor in, I will chop one up and add it in when I'm like frying my onions and my meat. They are a really good pepper, and again, quite productive where I live. Oh, I just realized there's one on the end that's one of those. So I actually have 3. There's another one under there. There's 3 of those that look like they might do something, but I did replant all of the varieties I had seed for that didn't have good germination. So I think what I replanted was banana peppers. I didn't have any more seed for the collage peppers. So like I said, I hope that I can maybe take a cutting off of this one plant that looks like it might do something. I replanted a bunch of the Marconi Red because they didn't have very good germination. And I think I planted the Sharpei peppers, and the last one that I planted a little bit of Serrano peppers. I hadn't started those initially, but with a couple of these peppers having spotty germination, I decided to just go ahead and start some. I had some seeds for those. I prefer jalapenos because I find that they produce a bigger pepper, at least the varieties that I've grown. But I do like that the Serranos are hotter. So it'll be nice to have a mix. I like them both. I wanted to show you one more thing here. I don't know if you can see that little curled up plant down here. But this is a little jalapeno plant that came up albino. It has no chlorophyll, and so a plant with no chlorophyll can't photosynthesize and will usually die. But I don't think I've ever had a pepper do that before. When we get to the leeks, I'll show you. I've had multiple leeks come up and be, no chlorophyll, come up white and die, but I don't think I've ever had a pepper do that before. So this is kind of a miscellaneous tray where we have a lot of different things going on. And the first thing on this side here is my petunias. I saved these seeds off of plants that I got at a nursery last year, and the variety is a hybrid called Blueberry Shake. And they were not a trailing petunia. I think they're just called a bush style petunia. I don't know. I don't grow a lot of petunias. Last year might have been my first year growing petunias. Anyways, I saved seeds off of them, and we'll talk about them in a minute, but I just wanted to show you some of these look like they might have variegated foliage. Need to pot these up. They're a little close together, but some of those are looking, there's a lot of variation between these. So I'm curious to see what the flowers will look like. And beside them, from this line over, these kind of taller guys here, these are Snapdragons, and they're a variety called Tetra Ruffle. And I got, those seeds are from a company called Livingston Seeds. I don't usually shop with them, but they had some at the checkout at my hardware store, so I got those ones in a moment of weakness. These are a variety called Bronze Sonnet. I don't grow a lot of orange flowers, but these are an orange that I really, really like. They're kind of similar to the tone of a Scarlet Runner where they're kind of that like corally red, that like almost salmon toned red. Really, really pretty snapdragons. We're gonna trim these all back in just a minute. These are seeds that I saved. I bought my Nana some snapdragons for Mother's Day a number of years ago, and they were this variety, and I've been saving the seeds off of them since. I really love these ones. And so on this side of the tray, we have lots going on. Right here, this is all celery, and so I need to thin these out a little bit, but I didn't have as good a germination in every single cell. Celery is another one that can kind of get stuck in the seed heads. So when I pot these on, I will be thinning them out as well. These taller ones over here are celeriac or celery root, which is a root vegetable that is related to celery and tastes like celery, but you use it kind of like a potato. It's a really nice storage crop. I'm excited to grow a bunch of those this year. Down in this corner, we have another variety of snapdragons. These are called Tahiti Sunset, and I started these a few weeks after the big ones at the back there. And these are a mix that I'm really excited for. I've never grown those before. And right here, we have back to black violas, which are a black viola that is one of my favorite violas probably. And they stay really little. I think they get like, I don't know, they stay like under 6 inches. They're really cute. And then next, so from this line here to here, I think, I'll kind of move these around and relabel them a bit, but these are a pansy or viola mix that I save seeds off of pansies that grow in the sidewalk cracks at my Nana's house. So I call them Nana's patio pansies, and they are a yellow and purple mix that's really pretty. And then on the end here, I think these ones, oh no, I think that Nana's patio pansies actually go to this line. This is my great labeling. So these ones here are a larger variety of pansy, and they are called Swiss Giant. And they're a mix of different bicolor pansies. They're really pretty. And then last but not least over here we have, these are some thyme plants that I have pinched back a couple of times. They're looking really good. And these are my little rosemary babies that are looking so good. I really struggled to grow rosemary, and they really seem to like the soil blocks. That is the best success I've had growing rosemary, is in the soil blocks. So, bunch of cuties. Okay, so before we move on to the next tray, I'm just going to be pinching some of these snapdragons back. A reason you would want to pinch your snapdragons back is they will produce more little shoots, and when I come across one here, I'll show you what I mean. So I'm just taking this plant, if you can see here, and finding the first set of true leaves. So seedlings will put out a first set of leaves that are called cotyledons. The second set is called the true set of leaves, the first true set, and they will look like the mature leaves of the plant. So you want to find that first set of mature leaves or the first true set of leaves and pinch back right, cut back right above that. If you wanted more snapdragon plants, you could take this and put it in soil or put it in water, and it would root for you and create a clone of your plant. I have started 80 snapdragon plants. I do not need 80 snapdragon plants, so I'm not going to be cloning these. I'm just trimming them back so that my plants will produce more blooms for me, as well as to kind of buy myself some time before I need to plant or pot these up. So I will just be giving these trimmings to my worm bin. They will enjoy them. So I don't know if you can see those little tiny buds that are starting in the crook here. but those will produce new branches. So I'm pinching this Snapdragon back to encourage this little plant to branch out a lot more versus being really, really tall where it might blow over in a windstorm. Now I didn't do a great job thinning these out the first time around. So as I see any little extra plants that I don't need growing in here, I'm going to be removing those as well. And I'm noticing that the ones that I did pinch back are, I was trying to thin them, but they acted like I just pinched them back and produced a whole bunch of extra stems. So Snapdragons are really tough little plants. Now, which one of these do I want? As I'm thinning these out, I'm picking the one that has the thicker stem to keep. Regardless of which one is taller, I don't care about taller. I want the one with the big, fatty, thick stem. They're gonna produce a stronger plant. And so ideally, I just want one Snapdragon per soil block here. And these big plants are just growing in the micro soil blocks. And I have fed them 1 round of vermicompost tea and 1 round of a very diluted fish fertilizer. So they haven't been fed much. I do mix my amendments in when I make my soil blocks. So I'm not using sterile seed starting mix, but these are some pretty big plants growing in just the little micro blocks. So just removing here the skinny ones and trimming back the ones I'm keeping. Hopefully you can kind of see what I'm doing here. So this variety is a variety I've grown before, and I think these are seeds I saved myself, the Tetraruffle mix. They're a mix, I'll put a picture. They have, you know, reds, there's different bicolors. The first year that I grew these, they had a lot of like yellows with soft pinks, kind of peachy tones. There, I believe, was some white ones. The reds were kind of more of a cool tone wine red, which I really like. But a really, really pretty mix. And they were really nice as cut flowers. I grew them when my Nana was in the hospital, and I would take bouquets for her of those flowers all the time, and everybody loved them. But they did really well in the vase, which some Snapdragons I found don't. All right, I went ahead and finished trimming those Snapdragons back and thinning out any that still had 2. And that's all done. So this is a tray of mostly onions. These are another hybrid I'm growing. This is an F1 called Blush, and these seeds came from West Coast Seeds. And on the edge here, I have some thyme, a few plants there, and then these are celeriac. These are from when I did my germination tests, and I just potted these up into some empty soil blocks that I had here. So we are going to trim these. I just have a little mini salad spinner of water here that I'm going to put these trimmings into, and we will use them like green onions, because that's what they are. And I'm just going to trim these to be about 4 inches tall. This isn't necessary. I mostly like this. It helps the plants to stand up better. You can see that that one immediately stood up after trimming when it was laying down beforehand. But it's also nice to have something fresh to harvest. but I mostly do it because it just seems like the plants grow upright a little better and stay a little stronger and look a little tidier. These are the white wing onions that were started February 22nd. And then these are the blush onions that were also started on February 22nd. So you can see, hopefully, you can see that the soil block onions grow a lot faster. Like, these could be planted out and they're 6 weeks old, where these will need the next 6 weeks. But pulling this out to show you, I did see that there is a lot of really good root growth going on with these onions in the seed snails, so that's good to see. And they're happy, they're healthy, they just are not growing nearly as fast as the soil blocks, which I think is interesting. So here is that little albino leek I was telling you about. I don't know if you can see there, but it's actually putting off a new little leaf, which normally these just shrivel up and die, but it looks like the baby leaf has some chlorophyll, so that's probably what's sustaining this little white plant. Isn't that weird? So these are my onions and my leeks that I have in my seed snails. And then I just have a couple little pots here that were from when I was germination testing. And I've just been cutting them as green onions. But the seed snails are doing really, really well. And so compared to those 2 trays of soil blocks of onions that I just showed you, there are 98 soil blocks in those trays. This is probably about 500 or so leeks and onions in this one tray. So this is a lot more economical on space for sure. So I'm just gonna give these a little haircut here too. Again, cutting them all back so that they are about 4 inches tall or so. Doesn't have to be exact. And I'll just be saving all these greens and we will eat them just like green onions, which leek greens are really, really good too. They have just as much, if not more flavor, in my opinion, than the whites. I always use my leek greens. And if you're trimming your onions back in the garden and you have a lot of leek greens or onion greens, they make a really good pesto as well. And last year I discovered pesto made with feta cheese instead of Parmesan cheese. So I guess that's probably not called pesto anymore, but making a green sauce with either, like, I don't know, I use all kinds of greens to make pesto, not just basil. I do love basil pesto, just made the traditional way with Parmesan cheese and basil, but I also love pesto with all kinds of greens, especially onion greens, leek greens, any kind of herbs. And yeah, last year I started making it with feta cheese, and I think I prefer that, but I do love feta. My partner doesn't love pesto. He prefers the onion or garlic or leek green pesto that I make. But he liked it with the basil with the feta. So I'll definitely be doing that again this year. It's almost time to start my basil seeds. I like to start them with my tomato seeds. And because everything grows so fast in the soil blocks, I do not start my tomatoes or my basil. I don't even think about starting them until it's at least 6 weeks till my last expected frost, which we are now, I think we're about 6.5 weeks away from last frost, so it's getting close. I think this is my second time to trim these onions and leeks, and I think that was my third or fourth time to trim the soil block ones. All trimmed. And I'll just put these back on the shelf. I am going to give everything a nice drink after trimming these and pinching back the Snapdragons. And I'm going to leave my lights off for a couple of hours just to give everything a little bit of time to recover, because that's kind of intense for just little baby seedlings to be cut apart like that. Okay, so pretty much the last thing I have going on under my lights right now is this tray of lettuce. I think I started this in the end of January. Each one of these lettuce heads is in a soil block, and I believe there's 42 or 48 soil blocks in this tray, so that's how many heads of lettuce I had in here. This is the first time that I've grown them this way. Usually what I would do is plant, just fill a tray exactly like this. It's just one of the 10 by 20 cheap trays, and fill it with soil, and then just broadcast the lettuce and thin it out so that there was enough space in between each plant, and grow it like that. Harvest it as baby greens. This year I wanted to see if a soil block could sustain a full head of lettuce. And what I found was, I think that the soil blocks could do that. I think if I wanted them to do that, I would need to leave an empty row of soil blocks in between each row of lettuce, because the plants being this close together just ended up kind of stretching up. Like, these aren't going to seed, they're just trying to get to the light because the plants were so close together, they were shading each other out. So, and I also found, I don't know if you can see, but some of these leaves have some spots on them. And I think that they're kind of getting sick, and that's probably from lack of airflow. It could also be from when I fertilized them with the fish fertilizer. I didn't wait long enough for everything to dry off before turning my lights back on, because I was being a little impatient, so that is possible also. But it could also be that they're not getting enough airflow and starting to get sick. So I think if I was gonna do this again, I probably just wouldn't let the plants grow so big, but I was just curious, and now I know. So I'm gonna go ahead and harvest the rest of this lettuce. I don't know if you can see here, but I've chopped most of these plants down already. Some of these just weren't quite big enough and I didn't need that much lettuce at that point in time, so I'm just gonna go ahead and harvest the rest of this now. So this is a plant that I harvested the last time I picked lettuce, and you can see that it's growing new leaves here. So I'm just gonna leave all of these, give them some water, and give them some time and they should regrow, but I'm going to be starting a whole bunch of greens right away here for planting outside. I decided to just take a minute and trim these back just a little bit more. Like I say, they were stretching towards the light, and that's a lot of energy that those roots are gonna be expending to get the nutrients up to the new growth if it's having to travel up that stem, that long stem. So I trimmed all of these back, tried to make sure that they all still have like nodes on them so that new leaves can grow. But this looks pretty sad and dramatic right now, but I'm sure that within a month this will be back to full of salad. And here's our little mini haul. We'll probably have a nice little side salad with supper, as well as some green onions and leeks on our pasta. The last thing that I have going on inside here is I saved some dahlia tubers. This is my first time trying to save dahlia tubers, and I don't know what I'm doing, so this is not instructional. This is just showing you what is happening right now. So I have divided some of them apart, and I don't know if I did that right, but I don't know if you can see. They do have little sprouts, so that's promising. But what I'm trying to do is get some sprouts from these tubers, and then I'm going to cut the sprouts off and try and root them to clone these plants so that I can have more dahlias. The last thing we have going on for seed starting right now is our milk jugs out front of the house. And these haven't needed any attention because, as you can see, we've been getting some snow, and so none of them have even needed to be watered. Nothing will be sprouting in there for another month probably. So that's everything that I have going on for seed starting this year so far. I really love with the soil blocks that I don't have to start things as early because they literally grow twice as fast. So I think that next year I'm going to experiment with starting my onions even a little bit later, maybe. I don't know, we'll see. I might just do the seed snails again because that really does save a lot of space with those. We'll see what I do. I don't have to decide today. But I love with the soil blocks that, like, I don't have a bunch of tomatoes yet. I don't have a bunch of big pepper plants. All of my flowers, which that tray of flowers and celeriac that I showed you, there's about 300 soil blocks on that tray. Not every single one of them has a seedling in it, but most of them do. So that's a very efficient use of space under my lights. I have a bunch of lights that I still haven't pulled out of storage yet. And like I said, we're about 6.5 weeks, I think, from my last expected average frost date. So, and I think I did the math the other day. I'm pretty sure under my 6 2-foot lights that I'm running right now that I have over 1,000 seedlings. So not too bad for this time of year for me personally. I can tend to get a little bit enthusiastic during seed starting season. I love to start seeds. I love to dream about the garden. Spring me just thinks that I can do it all and that there's nothing but time and nothing but, you know, opportunities, and I just want to take advantage of it all. But the reality of it is that as planting season gets started, I still have a full-time job and still have a life and still have other commitments that take time as well. And so I need to be mindful to budget my time and my space accordingly. I also don't have the acreage to plant, you know, a billion seedlings. So I have to be somewhat realistic in the spring, but it is something that can be challenging for me. I just want to start all of the seeds, and I think there's probably other people out there who can relate to that. But I do try to be reasonable. Some years I do better than others. I did start 80 Snapdragons like I showed you, and that was not necessary, but I mean, if I have to give some Snapdragon seedlings away, that's fine. I'm sure I can find some room for some extra pretty flowers to have. And if they don't get planted, then they don't get planted. It's not that big of a deal. But I do try to be mindful with my space under my lights and my time for planting in the spring, and try and be as realistic as possible. And I do try and plan that all out in advance. I think that's a video that I might do too, is how I plan my garden, but that might not happen until next year because we're kind of past that stage now. So most of these things that I have started under my lights right now are cold hardy things, slow growing things like the celery and the snapdragons and the onions. So being about 6.5 weeks away from my last expected frost, I will be starting to move some of those things out into the garden. I have a little low tunnel that I'll show you, and I use it just kind of as like a greenhouse space. I don't heat it or anything, so I move my seedlings out there during the day if it's warm enough, and then back in at night because it's still, I think we're still getting like between -5 and -10 degrees Celsius. It's still way too cold at night for little baby seedlings to be out there, but in the next couple of weeks, I probably will be able to plant some snapdragons out and some onions potentially, so that will free up some room under my lights as well. So I'm still kind of honing that in. Like, I would ideally like to not have to pull so many lights out of storage and not have to use the electricity to run the lights if I don't have to. If I can be moving things out earlier and have success with that, I would like to do that. Especially the onions, because there's so many of them, it takes so long to plant, and I know that they are so cold hardy because I have perennial onions and different alliums in my yard, and they're almost evergreen where I live, which is wild because it gets very cold in the wintertime here. But there's already onions in my yard trying to grow right now, when pretty much nothing else other than the penstemon and the bergania, I would say, and some strawberries. Those are like the only other things that are looking any kind of alive right now. Everything else looks dead, but that will all change very soon. But yeah, all that to say, I'm still kind of learning how that works where I live. As I hone that in, I'll share it with you. I'm sure I'll talk your ear off about it. But yeah, that's where I'm at with my seeds starting this year. Next up, we will be starting our tomatoes and talking about tomato varieties and our basil and all of those fun things, probably some more flowers. But yeah, there's lots to look forward to this time of year, and I really love that. So thank you so much for listening to me yap on and on about seeds and plants and spring. I just get so excited, and it's nice to have a spot or a space to share all of the excitement. Hopefully y'all get it and you feel the same way. So if you have something that you want to tell me that you're really excited about in the spring, I would love to hear about it down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye, friends.